Even when I hit a million or 10 million people, I just don't know if I ever will be satisfied.
Being an athlete and being sort of a creator follow a lot of the same blueprint.
You have to work a little bit harder. You have to work a little bit longer, stay late, come in early.
You're competing for eyeballs. You're competing with other brands. You're competing with yourself every day.
A lot of your videos, a lot of your articles, no one's really going to read them or see them. After being a college athlete, what's the next thing I'm going to be competitive about?
Was there a moment in time where you said, I think I'm going to hang it up?
I don't know what I would have done without this. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. Wouldn't it be cool if we launched a media empire? If one person is like, wow, this really changed my perspective, that's really the success for us. That's what we want to do, is impact people in a positive way.
Starting at founder of Joker Mag, creator of the Underdog newsletter and author of the Underdog Mentality. Hailing from Springfield, Pennsylvania, number 5, Tyler O'Shea. And on the other side, starting as the host of Halftime Heroes, the Prince of Procrastination, and the ruler of rambling from Hampton, New Hampshire, number 3, Ryan Dunn.
Jerry Orsillo here alongside Al Michaels. What an incredible environment we have here in this building tonight. Opening night for the Halftime Heroes. This moment's been a long time coming. Over a year of starting and stopping and starting and stopping. But head coach Ryan Dunn has finally got his team up and running, and I personally cannot wait to see what kind of product he puts on the field tonight. And what a matchup to start off the season. Tyler O'Shea of Joker Mag. Al, this guy is no stranger to big games and bright lights. He's a dirt dog, a gym rat, a true veteran of the content creation game. He's been chipping away, building the Underdog universe for 7 years now. 7 years out. Every time you think he's out, bam! He just keeps coming. I think we can learn a lot here from Tyler tonight. Al, you got anything to add? Nope, okay. Well, I guess we'll send it down to the field. It looks like these guys are just about to kick off, so enjoy the game. So obviously my first natural question for you is going to make no sense, but what time does your alarm go off in the morning?
I was trying to be on 6 a.m. for a while to go to the gym, but lately it's been a little later, so maybe 6:37 now.
And what does that mean for your creator routine?
I squeeze it in when I can. So yeah, usually in the mornings, maybe for an hour, and then I'll roll to the gym, come back, and then start my day job. I'm lucky enough to work remotely. So, sometimes when I'm on lunch, maybe if while I'm eating lunch, I'll be editing an article or something like that. And then maybe an hour after work, I'll sometimes spend time. But a lot of weekend stuff, Saturday mornings for 3-4 hours, I'll be spending time. Yeah, and it's just, you get it in where you can, and it's a grind, but it's something that I enjoy, and it's kind of like a hobby, but also a business at the same time. So I think that's the best part of it.
Yeah, and do you set a schedule for yourself? Is it, okay, Mondays is this, Fridays is this? How do you sort of manage your week, which I know ultimately really kind of leads up to the newsletter coming out on Sundays? How do you manage that workflow?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Lately, I've gotten more of a routine. So, Monday, I try to just leave everything as is and really not touch it, maybe respond to some reader replies. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, I like to either create a new piece of content, SEO oriented content. That's the world I come from, is building for, search engine visibility and driving traffic to the site. So that's the main way that my brand monetizes right now, is the people come to the website, they see ads, and that's what kind of pays for the growth and the content. So Yeah, I try to either create or update an SEO piece, I would call it. And then Thursday, Friday, I like to just start thinking about the newsletter for Sunday, and get that kind of cranked out and scheduled and ready to go.
Got it. So you each week really writing a fresh newsletter, like you're not batching, like, okay, I've got February sorted already. It's more each week you're going after the next story.
So we focus on evergreen stories. So everything is like an underdog story that's going to always have appeal. So people can read it 5 years from now. It'll still be a relevant article. It's not kind of like time based. So we do have the stories kind of planned out at least, 2, 3 weeks ahead of time, hopefully. Lately, it's been like I'll be backlogged for a while and I'll be like, oh, I don't need to worry about stories for a while. And then it's like, okay, this is the last week we had batched. And now I need to like write something like this Thursday or Friday. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to find, 2, 3 different freelance writers that help me from time to time. They're great. And I feel like our voice is very much the same in terms of how we tell these stories. And we're really priding ourselves on our research. You know, not a lot of people do the kind of research that we do to, put out these 1,200, 1,500 word stories every week. And that's something we really take pride in as storytellers.
And what is that like? What does that research process look like for you guys?
So I pull up a Google Doc. I don't know how my writers do it, but I pull up a Google Doc. I will throw on a podcast with whatever athlete or person that I'm researching. I'll dig into like high school articles, college articles, like everything that they've ever done, basically telling their story. So sometimes it does take a lot of digging. It's, looking down, scrolling down to the bottom of their Wikipedia page, seeing like the citations of like their early life and stuff like that, and going back into those times and finding those hidden gems, those little anecdotes of information that other sources might not have covered, or maybe it was kind of overlooked in the past, and bringing that to the forefront almost. And then the way we try to tell these stories is like starting in the action, like starting in, with whatever happened, whatever the adversity was. So, and pretty quickly you find that almost everyone's story can be turned into an underdog story. It's just a matter of like how you frame it. So, a great example is Bryce Harper. You would think of him like he was always on top his whole life. He was drafted when he was 16 years old. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. What a lot of people don't know is the story of when he was in junior college in fall ball. He was really struggling a lot and he thought he would have to go back to high school. Found out that he couldn't go back to high school. He was ineligible at that point. And so he was kind of like, man, like if I don't get this done this year, like I'm kind of screwed. So, there's always a story behind everyone, and that's what we're trying to bring to light.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that athlete mindset. Obviously, a lot of the people I like to talk to are former athletes. I'm a former college athlete myself, and I'd love to hear kind of how you've now applied, because to me, they live in the same world. Being an athlete and being a creator follow a lot of the same blueprint. So tell me how you've sort of applied that athlete mindset as a baseball player now as founder of Joker Mag.
It's something I always overlook. I kind of like put that part of my life in like the rearview mirror, but it comes through a lot, and the lessons I learned are, like I said, invaluable. Growing up, I was always like smaller, so I always kind of had to work for it, like more than, I had to put in the work more than I think my peers a lot of the time. I was always smaller. I remember like, I got cut from the team in middle school, and I had to like really bust my ass to get back and make the team in eighth grade. Kind of rode the bench. Ninth grade, I was like kind of a backup for half the year, and like slowly just progressed every year, and then ended up playing in college, which was something I don't think a lot of people expected because that little guy that couldn't swing the bat in middle school, like all of a sudden now is playing college ball, and a lot of these guys didn't. Um, and it's just kind of that mindset, like the underdog mentality. It literally is what it is the odds are kind of stacked against you. You have to work a little bit harder. You have to work a little bit longer. Stay late, come in early, put in the work. And, it's just about the commitment and consistency, and relating it to the creator world. It's the exact same thing. It's like baseball is a game of failure, and so is this. Like everything you're putting out there into the world, like a lot of it is not going to resonate. A lot of your videos, a lot of your articles, like no one's really going to read them or see them.
And I mean, I'm so impressed with you of just how insanely consistent you are. Like it really is impressive. You've now been going at this for 7+ years now. Like when was the last time you missed a week? Like you just seem like you're so disciplined and keeping on that. Like how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's just something I really enjoy. I don't know how to explain it. Like a lot of people just don't get it. It's like when I started, it was like, oh, that's a fun little hobby. Like, what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, well, this is ultimately what I want to do. And it kind of led me to like the career in SEO. Like I kind of stumbled into digital marketing, and now like I work in SEO full time, and it's kind of a skill set that I have now that wouldn't have come without building a site on my own. And what you find is that a lot of people like in the corporate world are like, oh, I always wanted to start something. Like I kind of admire that you've remained dedicated to something. And it's like for me, it's like I don't know what I would have done without this. Like this is like I don't want to say like my baby, but it's kind of like something I'm super passionate about. It's I look at it like a lifelong business for me. So like I'm in this for the long run. Like a lot of people talk about they want to get acquired, or they want to, grow something really quickly and sell it. This is something I really don't see myself selling. I think I want to be a part of this forever and continue to share these stories. And I think it is an important thing for the world to have. Like, it's something I wish I had when I was a kid, like have one spot, one home for all these kind of stories that I loved. So yeah, I think it's important work and it's something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, and you touched on it a little bit, but at the early stages of people being like, "Oh, that's cute. It's a nice hobby." This is you sort of some of the naysayers. Like, how did you how did you deal with that and some of the insecurities that come with that? And I'm sure it continue to come with that as you grow and scale. But I don't think those little voices ever quite go away. How do you combat those?
I mean, it's like you got to consider the source sometimes. It's like, is the person that's criticizing you somewhere that you would want to be? Like, I don't know. I think it comes from baseball too. It's like that one kid says he doesn't like my swing, or this coach didn't like this about me, or I was too small, or it's just kind of something you build I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Like you just build
You just have
that
filter like a little bit of a wall to it.
like a callus. Yeah, like when you go to the gym, like you build calluses on your hands. It's like when people criticize you, it's like you just have to get used to it. It's part of life. Like if you're doing something right, if there are people that are kind of naysayers or going against what you're doing. And if you're true to your vision, like you have a passion for it, it's something you really truly believe in. It's like no matter what anyone says, like you're going to keep doing it. Like it's going to be something that you just continue to pursue, and eventually over time, like you build enough of a body of work and consistency. Like you mentioned, like 7+ years. It doesn't feel like that to me. It's just something that I've done for a long time and that I enjoy. And at this point, obviously it doesn't matter what anyone says, but there's always going to be people that are doubting you, and it's just about like having that confidence. I think part of it also is like after being a college athlete, I was kind of like, what's the next thing I'm going to be competitive about? Like this is something I can be competitive in. This is something I can like bring to people and like compete in like the market for attention. The gym builds confidence. Like anything you want to do consistently over time and you just commit to it.
Yeah, the compete aspect of the creator world was something I did not expect, but it really is. You're competing for eyeballs, you're competing with other brands, you're competing with yourself every day. You're like, okay, I mean, I see you do it. I have this tracker of, okay, social audience, newsletter audience. Like it is sort of the same way that you would track reps in the gym or you would track days worked out. Like it's kind of the same to me. It's really like
Yeah.
exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about it in that way until like now that we're talking about it. But yeah, it's all the same stuff. It's like there's this old story about like Jerry Seinfeld of like don't miss a day. Like every day, like write a new joke. Like he would always just cross off every day on his calendar, and it's like don't break the chain. So Beehive and the newsletter platform has like a streak, and like mine's like 58 or 59 weeks now, and it's like damn, if I didn't take that December 2023 break for like a week, I would have like a much longer streak right now. But yeah, it's like just being consistent is a part of everything. Like you have to put in the work to get anything worth having. Like you need to be consistent. Nothing worth having ever comes easy. That's the way I look at it.
What has been for you the toughest part of this 7 year journey? Like, was there a moment in time on this path where you said, I think I'm going to hang it up, or this is not the direction I want to go? Was there a particular moment in this 7 year journey that has that really stands out as being troublesome?
I've never doubted that the world needs this and this has a place in the market, but I think just distractions. I think it's really easy to get distracted with the hot new business model. Being on Twitter is awesome. Like I've learned so much from so many people, but seeing, in 2018, like drop shipping is a really big thing. Like, why don't I just start an ecom brand and like funnel that money into like Joker Mag and like growing that? Why don't I start like a print on demand apparel brand that's completely unrelated to this, but like if I make money faster there, like then I could put it into this or like, and there's so many different paths you can go down. It's like if you don't have it set in your mind, like this is what I'm doing this for the next 15, 20 years, like it's so easy to get off track and like see what other people are doing and try to copy them. So I would say distractions. I started a podcast. It was awesome. I talked to, a lot of amazing people. Jim Morris was like one of my childhood heroes from the movie The Rookie. It was one of my favorite movies. I finally got to talk to him, like interview him. It was amazing. But overall, like the podcast was kind of like just extra time I was spending not writing, which is like my main product is like writing these stories. So there were so many different things I was trying to do at once. And you can really only be great if you're focused on one thing. Like you look at any big business out there, especially media, like these people were just fully focused on one thing and they did it extremely well.
Yeah, you have the Jalen Hurts quote up on your Twitter recently from "Make the main thing," and it is so true. Tell me a little bit, like you mentioned the TikTok, but you've had the podcast, you experimented with TikTok. You've kind of dabbled into a couple of different platforms. What made you start with the written word, and why have you stuck with that? And how do you see that then continuing to scale? I know obviously you've got a book coming out, so I'd love to talk about that. But like, how do you think about what platforms you're on, what ways you've actually like communicated your message?
Yeah. So this is going to be like a long-winded answer, but growing up, my family like loved this one-man show. It's called A Bronx Tale with Chaz Palminteri. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It was made into a movie with Robert De Niro. The whole message of this play and movie is like the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. That's his like whole phrase. And me and my brother got to go backstage and meet him. Like a family friend got us backstage, and like we got to meet Chaz Palminteri, and he's been like kind of like a role model like since then, someone that I look up to. And that's what he told us is like the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. So growing up, like in school, like my teachers, like my English teachers would say like, oh, like you're pretty good at writing, like you should consider like maybe pursuing this. And then the voices kind of got louder as I went to like high school and everything. And looking back now, like my writing was not great, but I guess they saw something that like separated me for some reason. And so after college, like during college, even I was like talking to somebody, he's like, wouldn't it be cool if we like launched like a media empire, we called it? And I was like, I don't even really know what that is, but it sounds cool. And I was like the only one at their college that was like, I was kind of serious about that. Like, let me try that. So I started writing for like a Philly sports website right after school, and then eventually started my own thing because I wanted to just own what I did. But looking back, pieces from 2018, 2019, I'm like cringing at like the writing, but like I said, if you put in the work over time, it gets better. And I don't think my writing is great or perfect or anything like that, but it resonates with a small group of people, and I'm continuing to refine and improve. I'm always reading, like I read fiction. I read like 20 books a year plus before bed. I love to read, and that kind of helps me become a better writer. But yeah, the written word, I guess, everything is writing in some sense. Even, podcasting, storytelling, videos, like they're still writing down their scripts. Movies you watch on TV, people are writing those movies, TV shows, everything comes down to writing. So, we're taking the storytelling approach, but everything that you do day to day, your job, communication, like everything's the written word. So I think if you become a better writer, you could become a better storyteller and more effective in anything that you do.
How do you find the writing process? Because I've written on and off blogs, newsletters for years now, and it's painful. Like you write something, you're like, man, this is garbage, and it's a continuous cycle of loving and hating what you're working on. Like, how is that process for you, just battling through the slog of writing each week?
Honestly, the hardest part is just getting started. Like you can put it off for so long. And I read On Writing by Stephen King, and he's one of the most prolific authors of all time. And he still says like it's so hard to do. And like it kind of inspired me because he said like he sets aside like 4 hours every morning, just locks himself in the room and just writes like X number of words, I forget what it was, or 20 pages or 10 pages or whatever it is. Like if he doesn't get those 10 pages done, it doesn't matter how long it takes him. Like he would love to be done in a few hours, but you know, those pages need to be done. So for me, it's like having that cadence of every Sunday I send out the newsletter and it has to have a new story in it. Like that is something that it's got to get done no matter what. Like I've committed to that. I've committed my audience to that. And if I break that chain, it's kind of like breaking trust with them. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, it's I've battled with it for a long time, and it really is the starting point that is everything. Like once you get some garbage on a page, then you can edit it, then you carve it and you shape it and you tweak it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I actually I'm pretty proud of this. This came out okay. So you have the starting process in writing, but I also want to talk about like the starting process for Joker Mag. You know, you mentioned you were working on just kind of like some local Philly sports stuff, and then you were like, I'm doing this. We talked about this in college. I'm going to go out and do this. What was that like? Because I think there's so many creators out there, myself included, that are like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Like, how did you finally put a foot in the ground and just say, like, all right, this is happening. I'm going to start this thing. And what did that process look like?
So I was really lucky. I had some help. So the summer after graduating college, I was at this party for like a book release. So my dad's childhood friend wrote a book about his time in the Air Force, and we went. It was like the first time I met him, and the woman that he worked with, her name was Sandy. She helped him publish the book, and she was actually schoolmates with my father, like growing up, like classmates, whatever. And I started talking to her there, and I was like, "Hey, like I really like I love writing, and I would love to start a site." And she worked for a like web design agency at the time, and this was like summer of 2017. And she's like, "Oh, like I could probably get them to like help you like build a website." And then it got to the point of like, "We're just gonna build you this website for you, like, and then you take it over, whatever." And it's like, "What's the domain you want?" And I was like, "I don't know." Like I just was like searching what's available, and my family's dog's name is Joker because he has like this black eye and he's kind of like our mascot. Um, but I was like, I always thought it was cool, like magazine. Like I just thought that was cool, like an internet magazine style thing. Like because I always loved like reading magazines, like just like sifting through them, and I thought the style of that was really cool and like fun. So I just combined the two things. It was available, and I was like, let's go for it. And kind of revisionist history of it is like, our dog was kind of like an underdog, and like that's the whole story like behind our mascot, which is true. Like he's had a bunch of surgeries, he's overcome a lot of things, and like he's outlived like the lifespan of a typical English bulldog. But yeah, I mean, I was really fortunate for Sandy and her team to build the first version of the website. Got me off the ground, got me publishing, got me writing consistently, and for that first probably 6 months, I published an article almost every day. And it wasn't like the home of the underdog at that point. It was just like a Bill Simmons ripoff. Like I loved The Ringer. I loved Grantland.com back in the day, back in like high school. And I was just trying to like make a version of that for myself. And I had some college buddies at that point that were like, "Oh, like that's pretty cool. You started something, like I would love to write for you." So it was just kind of a mix of everything. And, I had like 5 to 10 different like college friends writing for me at one point. It was just like we were all just doing it for the love of the game. And eventually like that kind of tapers off like anything else, and it was just kind of me at that point, and went from there.
You have your I don't know what you even call it, your tagline, your sort of like mission statement, if you will. It's just so tight. Like you've got, the best sports stories you've never powerful lessons from underdogs beating the odds. Like how many times have you wrote and rewrote that to get that so it's just like so clean and tight?
Well, thank you for saying that. I never thought that it was like I've always tried to refine it, and I think I still am, because to me like sometimes you'll talk to people and they'll be like, "Oh, like what is an underdog story?" or like what does that really mean? And it's like to me it's obvious, like to a lot of people it is obvious, but like explaining it is kind of hard sometimes. So I think that was kind of the best way for me to explain it. A lot of like the newsletter promotion stuff, it's like the best sports stories you've never heard. Like that's what my landing page says, because that's kind of what it is. Like even if you have heard the story, you haven't heard this version of the story. Or we wrote about like a Patriots player recently, and it was like one of my readers responded like, "I'm a diehard Pats fan. Like I know about every single player, and I've never heard this specific story about this guy. Like I never knew that he came from this background." And it's stuff like that. It's like, okay, this guy follows the team super closely and like doesn't know about this story. So most people don't know about these stories. So like everything we do, it's like sometimes I'm kind of questioning like, is this a good fit for a story, or like do people know about this? And then you talk about being in the writing process. Like I've reread this story so many times, I'm starting to doubt like, are people going to like this? Like, does everyone already know about this? Is this obvious? But it's like just the fatigue of me researching for hours. I know everything about this guy this week, but my audience, it's like brand new for them.
I'm just it's so impressive. Like I digging into you and your story a little bit. I know exactly what you stand for. Like it's like I know, your origin, you've got your origin story kind of down super tight of like, in seventh grade I got cut from the team. Like you've kind of got that real tight, and then your sort of mission is just like really simple and clear. And I think a lot of creators, and again, something I've struggled with a lot is like, I want to do this and I want to do this, and like you're so dialed in on like this is where I came from, and this is what I'm doing, and I think it goes a long way because it makes it super easy. Like, do you find that there's a shareability factor of your stuff because people it's easy for somebody to go out and say, "Oh, I talked to Tyler from Joker Mag and he talks about underdog stories in sports." Like it's just like super easy to be able to share. Do you find that amongst your readers?
Well, first off, thank you, because I have to clip that and send it to my dad because he's told me like you have to get tighter like with your story and like know it and like have it down. So I'm gonna send that to him.
It is tight. I will say, Dad, it is
Thank
tight.
you. Thank you. Yeah, and the shareability factor, like it's something I've had success on Facebook as an example. Like people overlook that as a platform. That's a separate conversation, but it is easily shareable because these stories are just positive stories. Like good news doesn't spread as fast as bad news, and that's something I've been disappointed with in this journey. Is like, people are quick to share like a controversial take, but they won't share like this amazing story of this kid that overcame. We interviewed this kid Hunter, who is a teenage like 16-year-old kid with cerebral palsy, and he's bodybuilding. Like he just deadlifted like 405, and he basically has like one arm to use. So this is like a teenage kid that's like, it's incredible. Like I get the chills like thinking about him, because it's like, where are you going to see that? Like this story needs to be out there. Like people need to hear this stuff, because it's like everyday people are going through their lives and like they don't know that this kid's out there doing this. Like there's so many amazing things happening in the world, and like people that are so inspiring and have done such amazing things that like they need to be put out there. And like it's I don't know, if you can affect people positively. I've always said this, like the numbers are great. Like I love seeing like hundreds of people on my site and all that stuff, but if one person is like, wow, this really changed my perspective, or like this made my day better, like that's really the success for us. Is That's what we want to do, is impact people in a positive way.
You seem to have such a great feedback loop with your readers and your audience. Talk to me a little bit about that process. You tweeted the other day talking about like, does anybody else chat with their newsletter subscribers? And you clearly have kind of this feedback loop of even just story inspiration too. So how have you built that trust over the years, and built that like kind of one-to-one relationship that is now scaled to a 20,000 plus 50,000 plus relationship on like a bigger scale?
I'm glad you asked about this, because this is something I was actually talking about with my boss at work yesterday, because we work with a lot of creators in my day job. But the whole idea of like when I started was, we're this big brand, we, us, like let's pretend to be bigger than we are. And now it's like, as I've grown, like not that we're huge, but like we have 20,000 newsletter subscribers. I've slowly scaled it to like, this is me, like this is who I am, like talk to me one on one, like I'm very reachable, like I want that one to one relationship. And now it's almost like you have like 100 plus like pen pals, like people that write in almost every week, are like, oh, like, I've never read a story that I haven't loved. Like, I can't wait to share this with like my students. Like we have teachers, we have coaches, we have like parents, grandparents. Like this one lady said, like now I have something to talk about with my grandkids every week. Like when they come to visit on Sunday, I just read the story, and like now we could talk about what's going on in the sports world. So that one to one relationship is super like, I don't know, like email by nature is a personal platform, because it is like you're writing to one person. That's what I love about the newsletter, but not every reader is equal. So like you can have 10 readers, but if there's one person there that like reads every single story and like shares it with a friend, or it like gives you a glowing review like when they're talking to their friend. Like we've had people that are like, I read your story and I told my friend about it, and my friend just subscribed, and then the friend is writing in like, hey, I heard from, Ted that this story, like this newsletter is amazing. So having those like personal relationships like can, one, like allow me to see like the impact the stories are having, but two, like know who my audience is and like what they want, and just make the product better, because the newsletter, the stories I'm writing about are the product. So I'm always asking for feedback, like you said, asking for story suggestions. So some people have the problem of like, what am I going to write about next? We never have that problem because we have a spreadsheet now of hundreds of stories that readers have sent in over the years of like, hey, you should look into this guy. And it's like we'll never run out of ideas because we have that flywheel now, like the feedback loop, like you said. And then there are times where like a story doesn't resonate. Like last week, a guy got mad that we had a typo in the newsletter of like, we said the Chiefs lost in the Super Bowl, but they really lost in the AFC Championship, and he like unsubscribed because of that, and he was like outraged. And then we had a guy a couple weeks ago say, you know, I hate basketball. Don't ever write about basketball again. It's like, dude, maybe you're not in the right place. Like, we're gonna cover every great story that we can. So there's always the positive and negative, and like I said earlier, like the haters, there's always going to be that. But having that one-to-one relationship is super underrated in my opinion, especially with email.
And that's the end of the first half. What a thrilling start we've had here at the Unity Street grounds. O'Shea is dropping knowledge all over the place, and the host side is just holding on for dear life, trying to keep up. These are my 3 big takeaways from the first half. Number 1, avoid distractions. You heard Tyler talk about it. You're not doing 12 things. It's not a podcast and a YouTube and a newsletter and a blog, and I do Twitter and I do Instagram and I make TikTok videos and I'm doing a drop shipping business. No, it's one thing. Keep it focused, keep it tight. Number 2, embrace the athlete mindset. Build that callus. Log what you do. Treat your creativity like you're an athlete. Put in the daily reps and you will get better. And number 3, create a clear mission. He said his dad been watching out. He wants him to have it nice and tight, and he's got it so buttoned up and so dialed in. It's incredible. And that's what makes him good, because it makes it easy to explain to people and it makes it easy to share. So a clear mission is key. Those are my 3 takeaways from the first half. Team halftime is really going to need to make some adjustments coming out of the break if they want any chance of picking up a result in this game. And for O'Shea, he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. He came in with a game plan, and it is clearly working. Attack, attack, attack. Do not break the chain. I'm excited to see what he does in the second half. Looks like we're about to get underway here again, so let's send it back field side to kick off the second half.
They're not going to shoot directly from the kickoff, are they? He absolutely is going to shoot directly from kickoff, and it's going to go in. Oh, that's unbelievable! That is incredible. It is the most majestic thing you may ever see.
Does it start to resonate with you now? Like 20,000 people, you just crossed 20,000 people, subscribers to the newsletter in the last week or so. Does it resonate that like you could fill a, NBA, NHL stadium, MLS stadium with that type of numbers?
At every like milestone, I've searched like that list of like stadium capacities, and I'm always like searching like a packed house at like this MLS state. Like right now, I think we're at like MLS level. I don't know if we're at NHL level, but yeah, I always look that up, and it is cool to visualize that. Like even 100 people, like for me to be able to like sit in front of 100 people and share like a story like that, that's amazing. My brain can't even wrap around like 1,000 people or beyond that, because I've never spoken in front of that many people, and that's kind of like what it is. You're telling a story to thousands of people, and it's resonating with a lot of them. And yeah, the internet makes it so hard to comprehend, because we're all so used to seeing like big numbers now, but it's like if you can picture it in person, like that's a lot of people, and it's awesome.
Who, to me, have had really this like hockey stick curve of growth in the last, well, let's call it 18 months. Like you really have, blown up. I think I put the numbers down here. You're up like 170% on newsletter subscribers. You're up like 70% in page views. The numbers have really started to grow in the last 18 months. Do you feel that yourself? Do you feel that momentum, or are you you just seem like such a steady Eddie guy? Like it's just like, okay, this is, next day, next newsletter. How have you felt that momentum start to build over the last 18 months?
It's funny that you say that because I really don't feel it day to day. It is cool to like to zoom out. Like every month, I'll try to share like an update of like how we're doing and the numbers. But even like year over year, it doesn't feel crazy. And there are ups and downs all the time. Like traffic is never steady. It's seasonal with sports. Going into like baseball season, it starts to slow down until baseball season comes, and then like it'll pick up again, and then you know but it's funny because it doesn't feel like anything. Like you just have to stay committed to the process of it. And I don't think I'll ever be satisfied even when I hit a million or 10 million people. Like I truly believe we can get there. I just don't know if I ever will be satisfied. And that's like kind of a double-edged sword because you want to be happy with what you have, but also you want to stay hungry for the next thing. I remember like last Christmas, around like Christmas of 2023, I hit 10,000 subscribers. And to me, like I was like elated with that. Like I was so happy. And like we were talking about it at Christmas time with my family and, my fiance's family. It was awesome. And then I just hit 20,000 like recently. And I kind of went into her and I was like, it doesn't really feel any different. Like am I not going to start like feeling this thing anymore? Like is it not going to be like a celebration anymore? And it's kind of like I don't know, you get used to like not success, but like you get used to like like hitting those milestones, and it's like what's the next thing? So now for me it's like I'm kind of getting my eyes off that growth, and like I want to launch this book because I've never done that before, and I figured it out how to do it. And I'm excited to get it out there because a lot of people have said they want it. So that's like the next challenge for me. And then once I get there, it's like, okay, how do I sell 100 copies of this thing? Like get it in 100 people's hands. And then I'm sure I won't be excited after that. And it'll be like the next
Yeah,
thing. So it's
it's
like,
always is the next thing.
yeah. So you have to stay committed to like that vision.
So, okay, the book. I'd love to talk about the book. What's the title? Where's it going? But why did you decide to launch a book? It seems like this has been a
So
few years now too.
yeah. So about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was talking to this guy, Scott, who um, I don't know if a lot of people will know about him, a lot of your listeners, but he started Viral Nova back in the day. It was like a huge website. Like this guy's a genius, and he was kind of like a mentor to me for like a few months. And he said, like, dude, like, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I was like, no, I really haven't, because I was like struggling. Like, how do I monetize this thing when I'm like kind of in between being able to get like big sponsors and like being too small to like do that, but also big enough to like I should be able to make some decent money off of this thing. Like I should be able to monetize it. And he's like, yeah, book would be amazing. Like these people are reading your stories every week. Like why not give it a try? So the next week I put a poll in my newsletter like, hey, would you guys be interested if I wrote a book? And they were like, yeah, like let's do it, dude. Like get going. And so that was like, wow, like people would actually buy something that I write. So I don't have to just write for free all these years. Like some of this might pay off. So long story short, like I started putting together like some of my better stories over the years and just kind of refining them, and then bought a couple books to look into certain athletes I hadn't covered before. And they're going to kind of be like book exclusive stories. So, and then going back through and like editing it recently, like it's 25 different stories, like 25 chapters, like each is like a story. And the book is called The Underdog Mentality: Sports Stories That Will Change How You See the Game and Yourself. Because I think that is kind of the theme. Like every story that you read is going to change kind of your perspective, or at least hopefully. And every story is different. Every person overcame something different. They came from a different background. But in the end, like it is kind of that same mindset that carries all these people through, which is what we call the underdog mentality. But even going back through like and reading these stories again, like I wrote these stories over the years, and some more recently than others, but they're still kind of new to me. Like every time you read them, it's like you're at a different stage of your life than you were 2 years ago when you read them. So that's like the evergreen aspect of it, is like they're going to be relevant for your like for a lifetime, but like depending on the place you're in, the story might hit you differently.
Yeah. Um, the let's say like this is step one of your book tour. Like what are you doing to kind of get the book out there? When does it come out? How can people find it? Tell me a little bit about what your plan is to really release it to the wild.
I really haven't come up with like a huge plan because I my goal was 100 copies. That would be like that would be amazing to me. Like, and I said from the beginning, like if one person buys it, I'll be thrilled because for me, this is kind of a selfish thing because I just want my work in physical form. Yeah, I just want to be able to hold my work in my hands and be like, wow, like this is the culmination of 7+ years of like sharing these stories. So, yeah, no rough plan. I'm figuring out as I go, and I'm going to rely heavily on the people that have supported me for years. So, we'll see how it goes.
That's special, though. That's awesome. You mentioned this being a new revenue stream for you potentially. Would love to talk a little bit about the money behind the Joker Mag and the Underdog and what sort of that pie chart looks like now, and maybe what is it like over the years of what are the different revenue sources.
Yeah, so it's mainly, like I said in the beginning, the website. So, the website, it runs display ads. And there are a few like it's hard for me because I work for one and I use the other. Like so there's like two like kind of competing companies, but it's like a whole like long story. But anyway, they're like premium ad networks that run. But before that, you have to use like Google AdSense, which is like the basic way to monetize a website. So to get into these premium ad networks, you have to reach a certain threshold of traffic. So for years I was like, okay, I got to build up my traffic to get to this point, and then once I get to this point, like then I'll have been successful. So
Yeah.
then eventually, like after years of like grinding in the SEO game, like getting traffic, building the habit with my readers to come to the site, read my stories, I got like super close. I was at like 48,000 sessions in a month, and you need like 50,000 to qualify for this platform. So I was like, okay, let me run some Facebook ads next month to a few articles and get like make up for that little gap in like the
Yep.
thousands of
Get to
people.
that 50K.
We got to the 50K. I get in and it changed. Like it literally did change everything. Like I like tripled or quadrupled what I was making per visitor to the site, and it allowed me just to have enough. Like I'm not making a ton of money off of this. It's just enough for me to reinvest into like growing the newsletter. Like I'm running Facebook ads now to the newsletter. That's what's led to a lot of that like hockey stick growth is like reinvesting the ad earnings into growing the newsletter. So the way I look at it is like the website traffic can go away, at least like a percentage of it because it comes from unreliable sources. Like Google is steady traffic, but it's changing so fast. And like being in the SEO world, I know how unreliable it can be. I trust that it will be there for a while, but it can go away. So I'm trying to invest the money I'm making from that into my own readership because I can always drive them to the website if I want to and build the habit with people to go to the site. But that is the bulk of the revenue right now. My goal is to get the newsletter monetization up to par with that and kind of like be fit. And the newsletter revenue could be anything from
What if you had a percentage to it? Like, what would you say the breakdown is now?
right now, I would say probably 70/30 to 60/40 website. But yeah, I mean, it's so hard right now. Like, it's still like email's been around for a while, but monetizing newsletters, like, there's a whole ecosystem being built around like the Beehive ad network and like all these different things, but it's still very low paying compared to like website monetization has been around forever, and these companies have cracked the code on like how to get higher RPMs, but like newsletters haven't caught up to that yet, and that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But in the meantime, like I want to build products that my audience wants and sell them directly to them. So that's where the book comes in, is kind of like a proof of concept because if I can write a book, I can maybe sell like playing cards, or I can sell like I can create, you know, whatever, sports, whatever, gummies or sunflower seeds. Like I could start my own brand of anything and like sell it to my audience. You see every creator kind of following that playbook now, and it's like why not do that with a newsletter audience? Why not try to sell things directly to them because they love your work, they want to support your work, and they love what you're putting out there. And then even better, you can get that feedback loop ahead of time and say, hey, out of these three ideas, like which one would you want? Or like, what's a fair price for this product or whatever like that. Like there's so many things you can do with a newsletter audience. And I think I'm just scratching the surface of that.
Yeah, it goes back to your feedback loop that you have on story ideas. It's the
Right?
same thing. Product ideas, you can kind of just run that play back. You have had some big sponsors though. You've landed Nike. It looks like Paramount. Better Health, Better Sleep. Like how are you getting some of those sponsors now for the newsletter?
Yeah, so I mentioned like the Beehive ad network. They'll like send you sponsorships. If they're listening right now, make sure they're higher paying Beehive because like some of them aren't like, you know, the best like cost per click or cost per like thousand impressions. Like they are still ramping it up, so it doesn't always make sense to accept those placements. Like I sometimes would just rather not run an ad if I'm going to only make a few like dollars off of something. But yeah, and then it's like outreach, or like someone will come to me and say they want to promote something, or there's affiliate deals out there. Affiliate marketing is a whole other untapped area for me. There's a lot of different ways, but it just has to make sense to, because you're kind of aligning yourself with that brand. Like you want to make sure that you don't blow that trust up with your readers.
I want to play a little bit of like build a roster for Joker Mag. So right now you've kind of been a one man show. We know you've talked about having you've got some freelance writers, but really it's just you. It is you, running the show here. So you get your starting five. You get a chance. Money is not no obstacle. You get free reign to pick and bring in however many types of people or five people that you want.
Hmm.
What are your first five hires if money's not an option?
Well, I think one would have to be Bill Simmons, just because he's my inspiration. He knows how to build a company like this. Two, I would probably go. One of the writers that he had was Shea Serrano, who I really appreciate his writing. Great personality online to follow. He's like always trying to support like his fellow writers. I would maybe go like a local guy, like a Philly guy, maybe like Tim McManus, who's like I think he writes for the Inquirer. The other two I'm kind of stuck on.
You maybe don't have to go person, but like archetype. Like, is there like, are you bringing in a video editor? Are you bringing in somebody to manage the website? Like, are you bringing in a finance person? Like, what types of people maybe would you bring in?
I would bring in an ad sales guy, someone that can kill it with selling these sponsorships that I have had trouble selling or making the time to sell. So someone that can lock down some brand deals that are like long term to align their brand with us. That would be amazing. That's what I'm kind of looking for. I think that's what my first true hire would be when I have the means to do that. And next, I would probably someone that could do short form content. So maybe like someone like yourself that is good with like short form video, that could transform some of the written content into like an engaging video that's going to bring in that top of funnel audience, and hopefully build a little bit of a following and get some people to subscribe to the newsletter, and grow that audience and repurpose content that I haven't had the time or the ability to do. Video is definitely something that I should be doing, but I just don't have the time or expertise to really do it. So those are probably my starting five.
All right, I like that. And what does are you somebody you're so consistent in what you've done for the last 7 years? Do you map out what the next year, 3 years, 7 years looks like? Like, have you started to build what that vision is for Joker Mag?
I wish I had like a more grand. I mean, I know I want to like launch more products. I know I'll probably want to write more books in the future. I know I want to reach like critical mass, and like I have like a revenue number in mind of like what I want to get to in the short term and long term. But other than that, it's just kind of like making sure like month over month or year over year, like every month we're kind of improving. So I'm trying to focus on like the inputs, like what's going to get me there. And that's like, you know, promoting myself, like putting myself out there, publishing a consistent amount of articles, updating a consistent amount of articles, like putting X amount of revenue back into newsletter growth, like through paid ads or anything like that. So just continuing to do the right things and focus on the right things and try to tune out any noise that's out there is going to lead to growth.
I see a lot in talking to creators is like people are so, I think you've done a good job of not being so money focused, just build like, hey, the content is the king here. But as you grow, what does that look like for you from a money standpoint of like where is success?
Success to me is being able to be in the future full time. I don't see this needing to be, have a bunch of employees. I don't think I really want to go that route. I think I probably would stick to like freelancers. Me being full time, maybe one other person being full time would be the ultimate goal. Being like a lean, mean machine in that way. But right now, like I have such a good like dialed in process. It's not too demanding to where like I really enjoy my like working full time. I enjoy that aspect, and it's like an outlet for me to like learn things at work that I can apply to my site, and like things that I learn from my site I can apply at work. And it's like kind of a great, that's another like kind of cycle and feedback loop that I've gotten, that's took me like far in my career and more quickly than it would have. So yeah, I think right now like it's I can do both, and why not do both? I'm going to be starting a family someday. Like you have to have the means to do that. So it doesn't make sense for me to go all in on something that it doesn't make sense to do that right now. I would love to do that in the future. And I think right now it's just about trusting the process and continuing to build it up to get to that point.
And there you have it, the final whistle. That is a wrap from opening day. A comfortable victory for Tyler O'Shea and the Joker Mag squad. I will say, however, there were some bright spots from the halftime heroes. Host Ryan Dunn seems to have this team trending in the right direction, and I fully expect them to get better and better as the season goes along. For those of you at home looking to follow along with the heroes, you can subscribe to the channel to be notified when new matchups drop. And if you're a sports fan who wants to learn from the best creators in the business, this is the show for you.